preview for the next 2 years. Of course, us 144K are going to take that to the nth degree and really pull the event energies right before us, right to us. As many of us star seeds, especially the 144K, are ready. So like I said, I'll reveal what we need to do as soon as we're up there. If you're new, welcome. Get ready for quite a ride and a riveting adventure. Only limited by your own mind and level of consciousness. Take a couple of big deep breaths. Breathe deeply and slowly through your nose. And truly surrender to the present. Detach. Because we really are going to focus on bringing the event energies right to our doorstep. And those of us who have the reference points for such a thing will feel it as early as tomorrow. Okay, let's get going now that we're in that beautiful place of stillness. See yourself in that gigantic crystal ball that will take us up to the managers of multiverses. Look all around and see and admire the beauty of the translucent silver crystal ball, and see the golden light bodies or astral bodies of your fellow, your dearly beloved 144K members that have made it this far. And that's certainly something to be proud of. Every single one of you. Let's call in Gaia. The sacred one. Authentic Gaia. Authentic Gaia. We call upon the one true authentic goddess, Gaia. Feel her. See her in the middle of the crystal ball. See her beautiful polar ice caps. clouds over the blue oceans. Authentic Gaia, can we please have your permission to take you up with us? To beyond the multiverse. To receive that care and love and clearing that you deserve so much. And now we start to move up through the layers of this universe. And that familiar, calming, therapeutic, soft flashing of light on the walls through the walls of the crystal ball return. Some of you can hear the flickering. As we zoom up the layers of this universe, enjoy the ride, enjoy the view. As we rapidly approach that last thick outer boundary of this universe, take your last glance, casual, non-trying glance at all the other members, evenly spaced, surrounding Gaia, near the equator. Of this crystal ball. And then all of a sudden, everything goes bright white as we reach and push through that last thick outer boundary of this universe. It's very bright. And we're through. And you see a big ball of light beneath us. Rapidly turn into a small ball of light, and we rise above a whole ocean of small balls of light. That is all the other universes in this part of the multiverse. And we rise above the multiverse, and that turns into a slightly hazier, more faint looking ball of light. And we rise above another whole ocean of multiverses. And all that disappears. Now go ahead and call in your guides while I run through the standard protocols as we continue to rise to absolutely mammoth levels of power. Authentic heart, we call upon the one true authentic light beings, the heart. Please make sure we go to you and no one else, true heart. Take that last glance at Gaia. And you look up, and through the roof of the crystal ball, you start to see a point of white light. So far, far away. And we continue to approach it. It's a very high up frequency. And now the roof of the crystal ball begins to light up. And we finally reach it. We come to a sudden yet somehow gentle stop. And we slowly, lovingly move through this platform of light, a very special realm among all that is. As we rise above, it closes at the bottom and opens up at the top. And we rise into a realm where we can do so much more to accelerate planetary liberation. It's a stunning vision as we nestle on top of this level of light. We form a straight line. Behind and a little above Gaia, in absolute unity and solidarity. We're only heading in one direction and nothing is stopping us. And the crystal ball peels evenly downward from the top center. And as it does that, it already lets in huge amounts of this super high frequency light. So if you're new and you find yourself yawning or having trouble staying awake, hang in there. Just being up here does so much for your field and upgrading your frequency. Now, look up and establish your connection, your own connection with these overseers of universes and multiverses, and feel what they feel like, especially if you're new, so that you recognize their energy signature. Authentic God, please send us a massive wave of your energy so we can truly feel you to an undeniable, unmistakable physical level. And as you look at them, just have a little background consciousness on the center of your head. For those of you who aren't too sensitive, that's where a lot of our higher senses are. Remember to breathe deeply, slowly and evenly through your nose. Authentic God, please send us a massive wave of your energy to our hearts and connect with us, with our hearts. And now hold a little small amount of your consciousness on your chest. Really let go and trust. This, of course, effectively begins the mass meditation. Alrighty, well done. All right, return some focus back onto your own personal guides if you have them. I will quickly call in the rest of the teams. I call upon the one true authentic, infinite arming of the authentic amalgam. I call upon the elders of the amalgam. I call upon the team of beings that created this universe and physicality that represents itself as one man, the giant being of light, golden color. You can see him off to the right, perhaps. Okay, repeat after me. I call upon all of my high dimensional, higher selves. Feel this massive multi-layered presence. There's many different aspects and levels of you, the one being. Really feel that, tune into it, trust it, because now's a good time for that. All right, so let's finish up with, repeat after me. I call upon the entirety of my soul I call upon my authentic oversoul. I call upon my authentic I am presence. And see your soul as a small ball of light, just up above the hod, perhaps, the managers of the multiverses. And in a slightly bigger ball of light behind your soul, see your oversoul in a different color for the sake of visual contrast. And then behind that, with its long, infinite rays of light, moving past and around your oversoul and soul is your I am. Now let's travel and work from another profound level, an aspect of all that is, which is omnipresence. Authentic legion of light. And I am collective. Take us to the space and place and frequency of omnipresence with Gaia. There she is. Everything goes bright white. It's so bright you have to squint your eyes. You can barely see Gaia. And the bright light disappears. Everything looks the same. We henceforth are everywhere at once. Wherever our light, love, and intervention is needed, that's where we are. Authentic legion of light. It is September the 17th and 18th, 2024. A huge super full moon, the point in the Earth-lunar orbit where the moon is closest to the Earth out of the whole year, which is pretty significant alone, pretty major. But we also have a partial lunar eclipse and a rather profound astrology. That provides us with a great opportunity to resolve something horrible that has plagued humanity and kept us from ascending with far more grace and ease and speed. We understand that the whole divine game plan was to trap all forms of opposing energies and forces into this one spot and make us think that we were trapped here as well. When in truth, we're here to make the right moves at the right time and free not just Gaia and humanity, but ultimately the entire universe and multiverse, all the other universes that have been infected by the dark. We understand what we do here affects the entire multiverse in a big way. We're like the ultimate nexus point. Let's make the most of it. Authentic illusion of light. What's that one thing that we can do in this moment that will transform the energies to such a degree that for those of us present now can feel the energies of the event, feel the freedom? What's the best way we can serve right now? There is Gaia. we embrace they're kind of asking us to embrace the unfamiliar and new energies and path that we'll end up on after this mass meditation. And partly as a result of that, there will be a further frequency separation, for lack of a better term, between active star seeds and the general surface population. Now look up primarily in terms of 55% of your visual focus on your soul, beckoning it to increase its connection to you. As we sit above this stunning, panoramic, commanding realm and vision. If you don't consider yourself much of a visualizer or energy worker, just let your so-called imagination rip. Let it run wild. With the limitless attitude of a child, and you're there. Because consciousness is king. I guess I'm just had confirmed what I was already suspecting or intuitively receiving before this major intervention. And that is what's making things slower, more stickier, and just difficult, plain difficult, of the removal of the lurker is the emotional, I suppose, the collective human emotional trauma and by clearing that, the light forces are able to safely and greatly accelerate the disentanglement of the lurker from the surface population. But any emotional body stuff, it's not exclusively emotional, but primarily emotional traumas that are still there within each individual, still very much there because time is simultaneous, not linear. It makes it much harder and trickier and more difficult to remove the lurker, because the lurker kind of is able to strengthen and anchor itself better within emotional wounding, emotional trauma of the collective. It's kind of like in the way, in a sense. Authentic legion of light, please clear the collective, emotional bodies and trauma of the surface humanity, and anything else for that matter. That is slowing down, frustrating, or causing complications. In the removal of this omnipresent consciousness known as the lurker. And it appears that this is the last remaining backbone for the physical dark ones. These days, primarily on the surface of the planet, of the physical plane. Can you please proceed to carefully scan all depths, aspects of the emotional plane of this planet? Which is inclusive of all the emotional bodies and any internal place, internal blocks, whether it's a portal inside someone's body somewhere on the surface of the planet, or whether it's a device or implant, or whether it's an unhealed trauma. Clear the lot of all the surface humanity from the space of omnipresence. That's why we take the time to call all of you in this vast, high-level collective to be able to do such a mammoth feat. Now, let's put Gaia in the white quarantine sphere. The teams surround us. Our souls, oversouls, I am, arrayed above us. Such a massive focus concentration of all these levels of light on this one tiny little blue planet that is like a central nervous nexus point for, as it turns out, the entire multiverse. Thank God for the 144K. Now ask your soul. Look up at it. Again, you're the god or goddess, so you choose where everything is at. In terms of visual positioning, I guess, and your guides. Now pick that holographic single color that represents an omnipresent view as directed by your soul, your true identity of the entire emotional plane, all relevant densities as it looks like we're starting off with the emotional plane. And of course, as always, remember you can change the background color of the quarantine sphere and the holographic singular color representing on omnipresence of Gaia. You can change that as you will. And feel your soul, your higher self, guys. They're already showing you what needs transmuting. As always, you don't have to understand the details. It doesn't have to be something that's within your reference points and paradigm. Be willing and open to go beyond that, because that's where the treasures lie. That's where freedom lies. Go deep. See at least two of the teams on the far side. Broaden your internal vision effortlessly. And anything dark, make sure you turn it white. Transmute it. This is what you're here for. This is the only ticket and way to freedom, and that is what it is. Unless you're happy to wait for a really long time, which I do not choose. And I can only speak for myself. And the first thing that I saw was the core of Gaia. It seems to be the heart of Gaia, and that was quite black on the emotional plane aspect of her, and that is being cleared. As always, by tuning into your soul, seeing it on the far side, within your field of vision. This is what you're all about. Just allow its guidance and be the silent witness with what comes out, what comes up. As always, it's whatever weird shape it is. Turn it white, watch it disappear. Change background colors as you will. So they're just in the process of. Okay. So by beginning to heal and transmute what I would call the heart of Gaia, now visually and structurally, it's basically her core. That core, or her heart, holds the kind of like, for lack of a better term, kind of like the Akashic records of all trauma or suffering of every human that's basically ever lived since the beginning of the Dark Age. And always relax and see, at the very least, your soul, oversoul, and I am happen on the far side. 2 or 3 other light beings on the left and right, and that's enough. You don't have to see everybody all the time. And briefly feel, simply by putting focus on it, your soul and feel its guidance coming through perhaps your solar plexus or heart. If you're a goddess, it's often through your whole auric field. And by letting go, being the silent, quiet, effortless witness, and tuning into your soul, you're able to more easily be guided or simply visually see what you're here to do, your unique soul purpose and task and assignment that's unique to you in this particular event of this lunar eclipse super full moon mass meditation of September 17th and 18th. We really have the opportunity here, as you continue to observe, we really have a very real opportunity here to make, to turn a major energetic corner like never before, per your particular unique assigned task in this particular operation. Allow, receive, and be that uniqueness of your soul talents and assignment. Honor it. Respect who you are. Now, the Dark Age was a very long time, so there's a fair bit to scan through, but I'm already seeing the core of Gaia looking much better, because there's also crystal aspects to her core, and that's, you know, kind of stained or shattered to a degree, infected to a degree through such endless and relentless emotional trauma of both herself directly and the human collective. And as always, if you're new, abstract visions always seem to be just as effective. And that's because of the profound phenomena of why we're here, which is to project our consciousness the right way from the physical to the non-physical. That has undoubtedly and clearly turned things right around. Yeah, I'm seeing, light, I don't know, coming outwards in almost like pillars, spreading outwards from the core to the surface area. Let go, detach, be the non-trying witness. Your soul, oversoul, and I am knows what it's doing. Your guides are with you. The Almighty Hod, managers of multiverses, are with us, among many others. And I'll be interested to know if any of you started seeing, I suppose, blackened or infected crystals throughout the core of Gaia, maybe sacred geometry, maybe shutting down some portals, whatever it is that your particular unique soul assignment is. As the light is now starting to reach the collective. So, again, when it's done the right way, the teams can easily do such a massive task, because the emotional plane and the emotional wounding of the collective it might be different time spaces or different times throughout the ages and eras and universal cycles or whatnot, but it's still the same place, the same space, which is this planet. And that's plenty for the teams to work through, especially when you're working with your almighty I am presence from omnipresence. You can easily get to all of those places. And if you're not, if you're one of those that's not noticed anything in particular, quote unquote, go with your so-called imagination and tune into your soul and trust. Okay, the eclipse maximum is now. So the physical dark ones are ritualizing their asses off, and the 144K, being what it is, sees the opportunity in this. I mean, not that they can do much anyway, but it's still an opportunity. To access every point on the planet where, through their dark rituals, the darkness exposes itself. So you may see a very holographic image of Gaia within the quarantine sphere. And you can see that each of the continents. If you see any dark spots, little black spots of the garbage they open up, cool. Send light through there, all the way up from your almighty, infallible, I am presence. See streams of light just go through, whether it's on the East Coast, Midwest, California, wherever the dark ones are. Obviously, Western and Central Europe, you can always bet on that. Any little blackness, send the light through there, and then see it spread into typically kind of like wormholes. Typically, it's okay if you see something different, and they always go to some kind of typically spherical, not always, but typically spherical, hidden realm of some sort of even a physical or non-physical nature. You know, when it's physical, it's usually at a hidden within the first, second, third, or fourth density. Spaces in between spaces, you know, wherever, whatever. And just remain in touch with that, your soul and I am at a minimum, and see what you see. You may also get a brief glimpse of actual dark rituals. You know how they walk around in circles in those cloaks and masks and crap over an upside down pentagram. Because they really ritualize, not just on full moons, especially super full moons, but on lunar eclipses, well, all eclipses, whether it's partial or full, especially these days where they're so desperate. So, speaking of realms, let's just focus on transmuting as we hover over the continents, as always, primarily over Europe, North America, and the Middle East. Of course, if you're in South America or Africa or Asia, definitely focus on your continent. Always remember the golden rule of psychic seeing: the less you try, the easier it is. And detach as best you can. All right, let's finish up on this phase, because inevitably the rituals typically, interfere to some degree, especially in the past. It's not as bad these days because of our relentless pursuit of freedom, happiness, and liberation. Traveling the stars once again. With the whole galaxy treating us like heroes, which is very much the case, regardless of whether you can receive that or not. Major energy adjustments coming up, but all for the best of reasons. Embrace it. All right. Now, for those of you who aren't doing anything in particular per your unique soul talents and purpose and task with this operation, start to see light, a cleared, healed heart of Gaia in the core. Really focus on that in the core of Gaia. So you're seeing Gaia obviously holographically. You can make out the outlines of the continents. Relax, don't worry, you're doing well, even if you see things somewhat abstract. Because this lunar eclipse is really powering us up as well. And see, let's just call it lines of light coming out from the core to each of the continents, to the physical third density plane surface. And having this light really go wherever it needs to go, going through, and you can visualize this in whatever way works for you based on the nature attributes and talents of your soul. Always really run with that, because that's just who you are and the way you are. And for those of you that may struggle with that, just let your imagination, so-called, which is the highest form of consciousness, let it rip, and your soul will guide you the way. There's always that element of the rigid, rational adult mind sort of stepping aside and moving into the right hemisphere of the brain through so-called imagination, the highest form of consciousness. Something's now being pulled out of the core of Gaia. Zoom in, zoom out, wherever your soul, either soul and I am, is guiding you. Be that non-trying, silent, effortless witness. With the neutral mind. With your soul's energy and guidance. Anyway, I'm seeing stuff being pulled out from the core of Gaia. I guess a lot was stored there. And some of you may already be seeing light working through the probably holographic emotional bodies of the surface population. And we're not going to be that long with this. Have at it. I'm just going to be silent for a couple of minutes. Tune into your soul. Because this will radically, drastically accelerate the removal of the lurker. And that does need to be achieved well before it all goes down. So I'm finding myself now okay. Like I was saying, just having problems with free conference call now. Maintain focus so we can finish up. I'm finding myself transmuting the whole emotional plane itself as a plane, for lack of a better term. All right, looks like we're back on free conference call. As I was saying, I'm finding myself seeing Gaia's emotional plane as a black ball, basically, because that's where the loosh is, right? Whatever time it is where there's still something to harvest emotionally, it's a squabillion and one time spaces, but sorry, a billion and one time spaces, but again, the place, the time is different, but the place is the same, which is this planet. Now, some of you will have seen, glimpses of, like I said, holographic emotional bodies of the surface population, light working through them. Through their emotional bodies. Throughout the emotional plane. Really see, the micro image and then the macro image. Micro image being an individual or two, having light travel through their emotional body and then spreading outwards into other emotional bodies and of even yourself and then your neighbors, and it's spreading throughout your town and city. We really want to remove any remaining ideal environments or backbone, if you will, that the lurker in particular can thrive on, can hide within, can be powered by. And receive what your soul, your higher self, is already showing you and what that looks like. This will really increase the frequencies of the grids, which obviously results in ascension and a higher timeline. Let's turn these energies around. Always take that occasional glance up at your soul, oversoul, I am. Okay. Now, for those of you not in the middle of something, per your soul task and assignment, based on your unique soul talents, really visualize light going through many people. You can begin with yourself if you want. Healing, clearing the collective. Now, invariably, these are all often, not always, but often connected to traumas, negative events, which is a soul level issue, which requires a soul fragment retrieval to shut it down completely. So again, for those of you who are not in the middle of something per your soul task and purpose, the rest of you just Look up at your iron presence, over soul and soul, and the heart perhaps, and just say, authentic I am, authentic heart, authentic guides, work through me now. And retrieve any and all necessary soul fragments connected to anything dark on the emotional plane. Throughout the history of this planet, well, namely in the Dark Age. Okay, there seems to be an alternate and parallel timeline aspect to this because they're all connected, I guess. All the alternate and parallel universes of this universe where, you know, there's always something that's different compared to this universe. Because I saw Gaia and all things not good on the emotional plane being in a long row from the center all the way to the right, and then way off in the distance off to the left, just one version of Gaia after the other, all black, darkness feeding off of it, which again provides a foundation or something to hide behind for the lurker. Omnipresence, all pertinent and relevant timelines or alternate parallel universes, authentic I am presence. Good, it's clearing up. They're going off like firecrackers. Remember, there is the portal aspect, what I refer to as an opportunity, with this partial lunar eclipse, super full moon, and we're making the most of it. And this is what it means to be a 144K member. Authentic Legion of Light, authentic I am presence, please proceed with any necessary soul fragment retrievals throughout all alternate parallel timelines and universes of this universe and planet for that matter. play around, folks, feel, or just hold the intent of your soul in your heart and just watch. Go beyond the boundary of your reference points. Freedom is always beyond the boundaries of the known, and just be neutral-minded. Just remember to transmute whenever you see anything black. Turn it white, then watch it disappear. This is what you're here for. Just a couple of minutes more. I'm seeing rows and rows of alternate parallel versions of Gaia and humanity, and just streams of light, which is all these soul fragment retrievals just zooming up. Into a portal of light that takes back to their souls, as in each soul fragment. You just keep on doing your own thing that's specific and unique to you. This is a great opportunity to energetically, viscerally, finally turn that corner. Where we can pull out the popcorn and know that we've made it. All right, start to finish up, because what we're going to do next is we're going to use this emotional plane, trauma removal, the stickiness, the dark density of it, as access points I suppose you can call it a unique access point into the deeper, more hidden subquantum realms where the lurker is. All right, now just look, zoom out, look over at your I am soul over soul on the far side. Two of the hot on either side. Anyone else who can fit in, but not necessary. And just repeat after me. Authentic Legion of Light. Authentic Soul, Oversoul, and I Am. And managers of multiverses and guides. From the space of omnipresence, work through the dense, horrible energy of the emotional plane. Work through it. And find the entirety of the so-called lurker. And completely unglue, unstick, disentangle the lurker. From surface humanity through their pain of any form, fully remove this as the last backbone, support or foundation of the lurker. All right. Now, some of you, and you can do it this way if you haven't received any specific visual through your soul or higher mind. And if you haven't, see masses of light work primarily how can I put this? Primarily through the continents, all right, where obviously the bulk of the surface population is. Through the emotional bodies, sometimes it can be through little wormholes, lines, feeding lines. We're now going deep within the emotional plane through humanity's emotional bodies. And within that, we're going down to the subquantum level of the emotional plane, which we can clear fast. So repeat after me. Authentic Legion of Light. Authentic I am. Clear the lurker. At the subquantum level of the emotional plane. And you'll see the whole quarantine sphere light up in light, basically. To expose anything black that is representative of the lurker. And, you know, stay outside the quarantine sphere as best you can. All right, got it. Turn it white, even if all you see is a black ball of lurker consciousness. Remember, abstract visual seems to work just as well. All right, now really see the HOD, the Beyond Multiversal Managers overseas, and your I am really sort of weighing in here, bringing in more magnitude of power and intensity through you, thanks to your consciousness that's focused on this. Thank God for the 144K. And hold that focus. You intensify that white transmutational light as a critical make or break physical plane surface connection to this multidimensional action of the light. Ultimately directed by source. So the main focus is clearing the lurker from humanity, within humanity, primarily on the physical plane surface. And the emotional bodies, the emotional plane was that access point that was a point, kind of like a point of strength, for lack of a better term, for the lurker. So some of you may see, I don't know, connections of whatever kind. Throughout humanity and the lurker itself. Now see and feel the hard your I am at a minimum. Intensify the light between every physical human, which is mostly on the surface, obviously, and the lurker, and focus this almighty, omnipresent mass transmutational light sort of dissolving, transmuting, disentangling, separating, cutting ties in terms of frequency as well. Between surface physical humanity to a 99.9% degree. There's some underground, I suppose, and some low Earth orbit, but anyway, the surface is where all the real action is. Between that and the lurker is a consciousness, and courtesy of this massive energetic backup and standing within or outside the quarantine sphere, consciousness can fight consciousness. Well, in our case, transmute it, because that's all that lurker is, a particular consciousness. Show it to the teams. Watch them do it. Watch your IM do it. For fun. And again, your mind, if you're having trouble seeing, just observe without an ounce of trying, and your mind will show this to you in whatever way represents separation, dissolving, and completed disentanglement between the lurker and surface humanity. You'll show that in whatever way makes sense to your rational mind to just grasp it, you know what I mean? And now hold your intent and focus for another 5 more minutes. On complete separation and dissolving of all connections and entanglements between every single physical human and the lurker. Continue to see. Go holographically, well outside the quarantine sphere. Okay. Now, every major land mass, so see Gaia again, as always, holographically. You know, see the continents in a faint outline of the shoreline. Again, whatever works for you. We're all built differently with different soul talents. We just have to make sure they're fulfilled. So see every major land mass, namely the continents, and you know, the oceans for that matter, a very holographic see-through indigo perhaps, and really focus masses of light. Look over at your I am presence and see even more light from the teams, and all their higher aspects just get massively amplified throughout the land masses, the major continents, where bulk, especially on the northern hemisphere, where 80% of the population is, and just masses of light separating, disconnecting, cutting. Watch your iron presence do it through you, thanks to your connecting link, referred to as your consciousness, projected from the physical to the non-physical. And subquantum level of the physical in this case. Now see the overseas of multiverses and your I am connecting, combining, synergizing times 100. And really devouring, dissolving completely down to the subquantum level, all connections and presence between every surface human and the lurker. What are you seeing? What are you witnessing? This is really fundamental to preparing humanity for the event and raising the collective's frequency far closer to the event. Now zoom out a little. And see all the intense, bright, shining white light throughout the continents, completing the separation and clearing and disentanglement of the lurker from surface humanity. And by the way, all the life forces that are doing the disentangling, they're doing it 50 times faster now. Every single body, every single physical human on the surface being disentangled. And see each continent just go through one after the other in amongst the holographic indigo oceans, I guess. Turn into a light aqua blue, like a baby blue. As a disentanglement completes. Intense white light throughout the continents. Holding that focus on completely, entirely, at all levels and densities, disentangling surface humanity from the lurker. Be sure not to miss the Middle East and Europe as well. As the life forces are able to make a big, swift move with this disentangling, thanks to the 144K. Well done. All right, let's move it all through. Holding a bit of background consciousness on your I am at a minimum. This is very intense light to be able to achieve such a mammoth goal. All right, there was a lot to go through there with India and China. As we finish up. All righty, fantastic. Beautiful. Fantastic. Well done, everybody. And now for the lurker itself. Again, this, to finish up, let's just really make the absolute most of this portal aspect, portal opportunity of this partial lunar eclipse and super full moon. You know, it's a super full moon of all things. You know, it's the most powered up time when the moon is closest to the earth. So let's finish up with an oldie but a goodie. Now zoom out. See Gaia there. And just condense or shrink the quarantine sphere, turn it back to white if you have to, and condense it down to well, there's a Dyson sphere around Earth. We're going to condense it down to the Dyson sphere around Earth, which is basically low Earth orbit. So pick your preferred holographic color of Gaia that represents to you omnipresence wherever the lurker is or exists. It's a very amorphous consciousness. So yes, primarily at the subquantum level, but at which density? Is just the third and density, or is it the fourth density as well? So repeat after me. Authentic I am presence, soul and oversoul. Authentic high self. Authentic guides. Authentic HOD. From the space of omnipresence. Clear all densities down to and within the subquantum level of primarily the physical plane, wherever the lurker exists. So this is multi-density. Spaces in between. In between timelines. Down to the subquantum level of primarily the third and fourth density of primarily the physical plane, but it could be easily down to the first density. The algorithm here of our almighty intent and teams is wherever the lurker is. No matter where it is, no matter how well hidden it is, no matter how many densities. And so, with that set, omnipresence activated, see Okay, this is interesting. See your I am presence divide into 6 equally big and powerful balls of light, for lack of a better term, because that's the I am. That's why we work with it, to get far more done. Otherwise, again, planetary liberation would take forever. I mean, you think this is bad, you ain't seen nothing. So you have one big ball of light above Gaia, still a decent distance away. Below Gaia, and then another 4 evenly spaced on all 4 sides of Gaia. And just beyond that are the overseas of multiverses to just explode the amount of power, mass, omnipresent transportational power, 100-fold. And now see the quarantine sphere, perhaps white, whatever, or you could turn it faint, indigo, whatever. Ask your soul to show you wherever the lurker is. It's a consciousness, primarily at the subquantum level of various densities, and some hidden pockets. So that within the quarantine sphere, within whatever colors or background colors works for you. Look inside. That's where the answers always lie. Be the God and Goddess that you're here to be. Honor it. Honor yourself. Because our consciousness is outside the quarantine sphere, that sort of, I don't know, protects you, frustrates the lurker from being able to see what's going on. And of course, present company. And now start to very slowly, very slightly move the 6 balls of light, that is, the omnipresent intrinsic nature of your I am presence. And chances are, for at least most of you, the lurker consciousness will simply be represented as dark grey or black. That it exists throughout more than one density at the subquantum level, primarily physical, but certainly not exclusively physical. And there's this as you can imagine, if you were to visualize everybody's IM presences at the same time, it's just this overwhelming, insanely intense flux of light that nothing can compete with such backing, such levels of extreme high light backing and channeling. Again, just visualize as you want. Move it in. And even though the overseers and of multiverses and all of our combined collective IM presences from all these different 6 directions are still a fair distance away from Gaia, as we move in closer, you'll start to see on the nearest end or side of Gaia where your respective IM ball of light is moving close towards, even though it's a fair distance away, you know, each of our balls of IM, you're starting to see this very, how do I say it? Like the resistance, the heaviness of the lurker consciousness is just off the charts. And you can tell there's a resistance, just unbelievable. But eventually you start to see outward moving waves, primarily in the lower atmosphere and surface area. And just waves of out, you know, the old dropping the pebble on the surface of a steel pond kind of thing throughout the low Earth orbit, upper atmosphere, lower atmosphere, lower densities, at the subquantum level of the physical plane, wherever lurker exists. That's the intent, that's the search term, the algorithm. Our omnipresent aspects that we are utilizing does the rest. You just be the silent witness. As we move in like what's an analogy, like an anvil, like a grip, tightening more and more. As our off-world and in-earth brethren take advantage of this and also accelerate the final removal of the lurker. And now just enjoy the show. As this arguably unprecedented focus, concentration, and convergence of mass light moving into low Earth orbit. Always play around with angles, always have that occasional glance. Your however many IMs and the HOD, etc. Wherever the lurker exists. All subquantum levels down to and within Planck length throughout the lower densities of the physical plane, wherever the lurker is. Enjoy the show. This is your opportunity to really finally turn that energetic corner for yourself as well, not just humanity and the planetary liberation process. I'm remembering to look underneath that Antarctica. And North Pole, moving down, which is the method that we primarily used in the past. And see, at the subquantum level, multiple lower densities, light, your true light, all the way up from your highest aspect, which is your I am, through you, through your physical plane consciousness, working through you and making it happen. And you see, initially they look like as this masses of light works through, it sort of goes inwards, like we've done in the past from the North Pole end. Many of you veterans know what I'm talking about, where the light just goes inward and you get that initial volcanic crater kind of look, like a crater kind of look, but a lot of movement to it. And it just sinks inwards as your I am presences eventually move inwards slowly and slowly. And one thing that the light forces love about us is that because we hold focus and stick with it, it gives them the time that they need to just work through more, clear more, achieve more, way more, and a lot safer too. Feel the movement of energy at the subquantum level throughout the density, the lower densities. Play around with the angles. See the occasional light being on the far side. Now just sort of go deep, like as if you're going into a deep meditation. Really step aside and let the full intent be completely fulfilled. And now start to see each of these 6 points evenly spaced, North Pole, South Pole, and then the 4 sides of the equatorial area, I suppose. See the blackness of the lurker consciousness at all densities throughout the subquantum realm. As they go inwards, it starts to reach the surface. It starts to move through the surface. So around the edge where the light, again, to use that crater analogy, around the edge of the crater, or the surface bottom inner area of the crater, you know, start to see, let's go with blue again, light blue, aqua blue, representing the lower atmosphere and surface of more than one density, wherever the lurker is, subquantum level down to and within Planck length. Because really it's kind of like an ocean, you know, the subquantum level and let alone the lurker consciousness. It's kind of like a, you know, like an ocean. It's just everywhere, pretty much. All relevant densities wherever the lurker is. And now you start to see this, I don't know, brittle toughness, brittle refusing to bend but only snapping, beginning to snap, crackle and pop kind of thing of the lurker consciousness and the subquantum realm at all lower densities within the surface now. Just, I don't know. Hard to verbalize the energetics. But trust in what your soul is showing you and stick with that. Just be willing to go beyond your reference points from the neutral mind. As the light forces are going at it, thanks to the space we're providing for them. All right. So we're moving down from the North Pole, penetrating through the surface now, and South Pole and the 4 evenly spaced points around the equator. Complete dissolution of wherever it is. Omnipresence, everybody, omnipresence. All relevant densities, frequencies, spaces in between, throughout the subquantum level, primarily physical densities. All right. So now you start to see that the blue of the physical surface, again, of more than one density, omnipresence, just really start to expand, and the mass, huge, overwhelming mass transmutational light of our combined effort here and ion presences just spread outwards and inwards, and soon they're going to meet with each other. That's where we want to get to. Hold that internal focus, as we only have a few minutes more to go. Make it all worthwhile and let your soul shine. Okay, the cool part coming up now, when these, again, for lack of a better term, inward and outward burrowing and expanding, bright, shiny, crater looking things, courtesy of our smart and tactical use of our I am. They're about to meet now. And it's okay if you skipped ahead, quite okay. Because this event, as it happens, is the main thing, not so much the linear time aspect of it is concerned, if that makes sense. And they meet. And start to see a stunning holographic, pure light blue through the atmosphere and surface area and inner Earth to a significant degree of all the relevant densities at the subquantum level. And again, off-world and inner Earth forces have been going for it because it makes their machinery and technology in removing the lurker and subquantum anomaly, for that matter, work way better. Because as a general rule, it has to happen at the energetics first for it to extrapolate out into and manifest into the physical, especially the surface. We have to blaze the trail energetically first. Many of you know that. Alrighty. And now our respective iron presences are, really close to Gaia now, at low Earth orbit, but their outward energetic field is so overwhelming that it clears something at a distance. And close it up. All beautiful. Intensify the light. Clear, clear, clear. Upgrade the frequencies. Purify things even further, even though it all looks seemingly completely cleared and spick and span, pure light aqua blue throughout the, all the way from low Earth orbit down to inner Earth. Still clear, clear, clear. Have at it. This will help light up the grids. This will help the light forces finish things off, even in a matter of days instead of months. And I mean quite a few months. And we got 11/11 as something of a deadline. And this really drains the swamp in a huge way. And it'll help Gaia and humanity properly receive and be cleansed by the continuous and increasing CMEs and cosmic light as well, without the horrible detox and fatigue and emotional release and blah, 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 the way it's been, as many of you know. This will really smooth that over in a big way. And we need this sort of stabilization. We can't have the freak out of the unconscious majority risk destabilizing things, and this will really help with that. So it becomes more like a fun revolution, for lack of a better term, believe it or not, of this sense of unity, of overthrow of the oppressors, and the immense excitement that comes with that. So that it's more that. Again, there's always a higher timeline version of the same thing. Our responsibility, and clearly you've accepted and honored that responsibility, is to blaze a path to ensure humanity and Gaia ascends to that higher timeline possibility. That's part of the reason why the life forces love us so much, with regards to whether you can feel that or not, just because we do it continuously, saving a lot of their lives as well. So just enjoy this show of these infinite 6 balls of light of your I am. Completely purifying the subquantum anomaly and the lurker, so that if there's anything left, it's just either pockets of it or just a neutral pockets of subquantum anomaly that just has no intelligence behind it. But of course, we're going all the way for complete removal of the lurker and the subquantum anomaly itself at the various lower densities, all relevant densities of the physical plane, subquantum level. Because now I think I'm starting to see Gaia's natural macabre and these rainbow colored spheres within spheres, kind of holographic and sort of come up, for lack of a better term, starting to appear. Well done, everybody. Seems to be light expanding out throughout Gaia, from her core outwards and throughout the lunar orbit outwards throughout the solar system. Let's just expand it out. throughout the solar system, all the way down to Neptune, Uranus, Pluto. I'm not sure what this is exactly, but it's expanding. Light blue. Throughout the spiral arm of this galaxy, the zodiac outwards throughout the galaxy, or this half of the galaxy, and just going. Throughout the universe, subquantum level, it seems, light blue. And if you saw something else, at this point, by all means, feel free to share it in the Telegram chat. And anything else that may have correlated. Because obviously, routine, I'm going to see some stuff. You're going to see some other stuff that I didn't have a chance to see. Or that my soul is not here for that specific thing per your soul purpose and talents. You know what I mean? Throughout the universe. Yeah, this is real multi-density subquantum stuff here. Cool, man. Reaching outside the universe and outward throughout the multiverse. And fun fact, the further away you project your consciousness from, so from the physical plane surface here, if you project it further out, like into another universe or the multiverse, your consciousness seems to gain more power. That's what I've experienced. And outwards we go. Throughout the multiverse. All right. Boy, we sure know how to roll, don't we? Well done, everybody. The pride, the love, the appreciation from our off-world and inner-earth brethren is so immense. Do receive that, do validate that. It's important. Feel it in your heart. Look up at your I am. Everything is as they were, as it was before. The trap worked. We brought all the darkness, lured it into this number one jewel, perhaps in the multiverse. the sacred goddess, the biggest prize that he could not resist. And thankfully, we rose to the occasion and turned it around to our advantage. And now it's all emanating from this Nexus planet outwards throughout all that is. Now do you feel and understand you as an extension of Source? Well done, everybody. Feel the love, feel the appreciation and the honor from all that is. Drawing the event way closer, turning it into a spectacle to remember, knowing that you're going to be free. And we don't stop until we are truly free. Return to love as that most pervasive governing force once again, and returning back to the stars. I salute you and receive all the salutes from all that is. What an honor serving with you. This is your loving servant, the unknown light warrior, closing this physical broadcast and intervention. I'd love to hear what you've experienced in the Telegram chat. Watch your inbox. Talk soon, beloved ones.